Game one is near. If Vandy wants any success, they'll have to lean on disruptive defense and a dynamic run game.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now until through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, the season is approaching. It's approaching fast, really. And Vandy has some pivotal games on the schedule. South Carolina, Kentucky, and, of course, the first one, Virginia Tech. And these will go a long way into defining Vandy's season. In order to win these games, though, Clark Lee and company will have to lean on its identity, and that's disruptive defense and a dynamic run game if they want any chance of success. So what does that mean exactly? What does that look like exactly? Well, with this first game coming up, especially, and that's going to be an important game, but with this first game especially is with disruptive defense, because that has ruled the day in fall camp with the scrimmages, the practices, the 11-on-11 periods, things like that. Like, that's the main thing they're going to have to lean on, because with that, that's going to be the thing that keeps Vanderbilt alive. That's going to be the thing that they can lean on to create momentum for themselves, right? So think about this for a second. All right, disruptive defense. What does that mean? We got to define that first. So disruptive defense is this: turnovers, takeaways, really. They got to get takeaways. They have to get momentum killing plays like tackles for loss, sacks, things like that. Like, they have to be disruptive. Pass breakups, balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, things like that just put teams behind. And when teams get behind, they start panicking offensively. Offensive coordinators are not very patient people by nature. They're going to panic. They're going to do things uncharacteristically of themselves because they're trying to make big plays to, say, finish off Vandy, or say, okay, we shouldn't be in this game with Vandy. We got to shut them down. We've got to take this game over. And they will try big plays. Teams will do whatever they can to get that upper hand on Vanderbilt and to get that kill shot in on Vandy. So being disruptive on defense frustrates teams and gets them to do things out of their character. That leaves teams open for sacks. That leaves teams open for turnovers. That leaves teams open for uncharacteristic penalties like jumping off sides, holding, offensive pass interference. Things that teams don't normally do. Pre-snap penalties, things that really kill the momentum. And if they can do that, I think they can build up some positive momentum for themselves, and then end up putting their offense in good position to be able to score points, control the clock, control field position, and control the momentum of the game. And so with that, let's give a scenario here. Virginia Tech gets the ball and they go 3 and out. Okay. And this will be, and I'm sure it'll be nice and red hot at the game. I don't know what the crowd is going to look like. I don't know where people stand on that. I don't know if it's going to be a pro Virginia Tech crowd. Judging by past crowds, that's something that you can probably anticipate, but it could be 50-50. It could be pro Vandy. Hopefully it's the latter, but you got to, Virginia Tech goes 3 and out. Okay. Hang with me on this scenario. Virginia Tech goes 3 and out. Vandy, they rip the ball down the field, kick a field goal, right? they gash Virginia Tech's defense, but not to the point where it's, it's easy or they score a touchdown or anything like that. But they start to get that ball rolling a little bit, and they strike first blood. They display that, okay, and they do so mostly on the ground, okay, because they're going to have to do that early on if they want to open some things up. Yesterday's show, I talked about how they need to create vertical space, how the key for other teams against them, if we're scouting against Vanderbilt, is constrict the field vertically and then eventually try to work them and pack them into the box. And once you do that, you've got them beat, right? So Vanderbilt's got to counter against that, because that's how teams are going to play against them. They've got to counter against that. So in countering against that, you have to have a dynamic run game. And when I say dynamic run game, that's involving the quarterback. And to be honest, and people really, really hate this. They really hate this phrase. And it's a phrase that I never thought I would say, but a 2-quarterback system, right? And especially if you're going to lean heavily on the run game, you've got to have that, because Pavia is going to take some shots. Nate Johnson is going to take some shots. Like these guys are going to get hit a lot running the ball, running power read, jet read, zone read, speed option, things like that, scrambling on pass plays, even simply put, and just getting the ball down the field in the run game. And of course, they're going to turn and hand the ball to the running back on whatever plays. But with that, they've got to be able to stay on schedule. And if they can stay on schedule, they can control the clock, they can control field position, and a team that controls the clock kind of puts a little bit of worry into it, right? So let's say they eat up, even though they get, so in the scenario I gave, 3 and out, Vanderbilt gets the ball. We'll say they start at the minus 35, right? We'll say they start at the minus 35. So they got 75 yards to go. Well, they drive into field goal range, and because of their identity, it means that they've run the ball successfully. They've completed a couple of passes, but for the most part, they've ran the ball effectively. They've eaten off 5-6 minutes off the clock. Now, the mindset that they're going to put Virginia Tech in, and Coach Pry, the mindset is, oh crap, they're eating a lot of clock. We've got to create a sense of urgency, right? And so with that becomes more risk taking, right? It's going to be Virginia Tech taking chances that they normally wouldn't take if they felt like they were in control of the game. Now, if Vanderbilt doesn't do that, if let's say Virginia Tech rips the ball down the field and scores immediately and immediately shows the upper hand, now that probably puts Vanderbilt back on their heels, which I think early in the game, Vanderbilt can still try to work can still try to impose their identity back onto Virginia Tech and really just kind of take control of the psychology of the game as well. So with that being said, though, if Vandy can do that, if they can have a time-consuming drive, get points, that will send a message to Virginia Tech. And in a game like this, 11 a.m. kick, it's going to be hotter than you know what. They have a chance to get the upper hand psychologically. And if they can do that, they have a chance. Now, Virginia Tech's roster, top to bottom, is probably better for the most part than Vandy's. They have more depth, at least, right? The starters, you could say they're competitive, but the rest of the depth chart, I don't know that they're so competitive. So Vandy needs everything in their power to get any sort of edge, psychologically, schematically, whatever. They need that edge. And controlling the clock gives them that edge, because Virginia Tech's going to feel panicked, or any team for that matter that they're playing, if they can do this, are going to feel panicked. I just use Virginia Tech because they're the first game on the schedule, but they are going to feel panicked. That is the psychology that happens when that clock is ticking and you don't have the ball. And your defense is not exactly stopping them effectively. Now, you may only hold them 3 points, and that could be considered a small win, but still, that opens the door for the opposing team, Virginia Tech in this case, to take chances. And when they take chances, mistakes happen. They open things up for themselves. They leave holes on defense. They offensively, they take longer developing plays, trick plays. They leave themselves open for those havoc plays. And when those havoc plays don't go in your favor, momentum slips out of your fingertips. And in college football, it doesn't matter. That's a dangerous, dangerous thing. So disruptive defense, dynamic run game, man, lean heavily on those things and you'll have a chance. I'm not saying it's going to be successful. I can't sit here and say, do that and you will win, because there's a lot of other things that have to happen, but lean on those things, get that psychological edge. And I think you have a chance, because there's some key games, there's some swing games on this schedule that can really, truly define how this season goes for Vanderbilt. And I know that sounds crazy because we're talking bowl game here. And given the way these scrimmages gone, that sounds crazy. But there's 3 games out there that I think can really, really alter the course for Clark Lee and company. And those games are Virginia Tech, Kentucky, and South Carolina. And I'll tell you why next. All right. This episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Sandals, screens, snacks for the kids. What do these things have in common? Well, you're probably buying a ton again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta to get cash back on all your purchases when you stock up on your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money's yours. So you can save over 2,400 brands. That's 2,400 brands, and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, or Lowe's, or Macy's, or Sephora, Best Buy, or Dick's, or more, whatever, wherever. So it's time you joined over 50 million users who use Ibotta and earn cash back every time they shop. And right now, Ibotta is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. So just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. But did you know college football is back? Well, it is. And the Locked On College Football podcast kicks off action with a live season preview at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, August 20th. That's today, as you're watching this, on the Locked On College Football 24/7 streaming YouTube channel. That's a 4-part series that covers each of the 4 major conferences with discussion on which ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC teams have a shot at the expanded college football playoffs. I'll give you a hint. It's all SEC. Maybe. However, be sure to check out the special streaming on Locked On College's 24/7 YouTube channel or on Amazon Fire TV, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, if Vandy leans on their identity, and what is that identity? Well, it's disruptive defense and dynamic run game, okay? If they lean on that, these key games, they have a chance to make things happen in this whole thing. And so the most important game of the season, well, as a coach, I'll tell you the most important game of the season, the next one, or in this case, the first one, okay? I'll always stand by that, okay? However, I'm going to talk about 3 games that at this point where they're at could really propel or define Vanderbilt's season, okay? Virginia Tech. Let's start off with that one. That's the most important one, okay? And not just because it's the first one. And, well, simultaneously and because it's the first one. So this one, to me, this game is a key game because when you look at it and you look at the impact of this game, getting the season off to a great start is super important for a team like Vanderbilt, okay? Now, a lot of teams, winning or losing the first game, honestly speaking, it has an impact, of course. You don't ever want to lose a game, but it doesn't make or break a team's season. Like if Georgia loses to Clemson, is it a huge deal? Well, I mean, yeah, but ultimately no, because Georgia can still maintain their goal of going to the college football playoff, right? If Michigan loses their first game, or Nebraska loses their first game to Colorado, or whatever the case may be, like it's not, there's a lot of teams that it's not make or break for, right? Because they are in a place to where they can make up for it. They can still have all their goals intact, and they're confident enough as a program and successful enough as a program where it doesn't really affect them too badly. So that's not the case for Vanderbilt, right? So this first game is of utmost importance because it is the first game. It is important. It is imperative that they get a lot of these things right, okay? And what they've defined for themselves coming out of fall camp, and likely by the time that ball kicks off on August 31st, we will know where they are, and they should have a true clear-cut identity. And so they're going to have a clear-cut at quarterback. That's going to happen pretty soon now. Any day now with Diego Pavia, I think it's pretty clear. And I think people at Virginia Tech know it's probably pretty clear that he's going to be the guy. And rightfully so, he has the most command of the offense. Now, he hasn't been exactly lighting it up, and he hasn't been exactly the sharpest quarterback in the world, but let's just put it this way. He has true command of this offense, and as they kind of start to rally together, they start to put together their offensive line, which I don't think that the starting 5 has been playing together yet. I don't think they found that yet. But as this team starts to gel offensively, the identity will kind of morph into different things throughout the course of the season. So there's going to be certain benchmarks throughout the season. And I think that's what these 3 games are as far as the identity of this team and of each side of the ball, and even special teams contributing as well. So this first game is really going to be important for them to lean on their defense and lean on their run game, because I do think they have a good run game, and I do think they have schematically a good run game, and I think personnel-wise that's probably what fits them the best, because the things that come off of these runs with the RPOs and the tight ends are going to be the focal point of this offense in the passing game. I think that's kind of where they live. So they're going to have to they're going to get a chance to do that early, okay? And obviously with a win, I think that's going to propel them throughout the early part of the season. Now, against Missouri and against Alabama, I'm afraid there's not going to be much there that can help them. They just need to be competitive in those games at this point. And I hate to say that because I hate to be the guy up here going, oh, moral victory this, moral victory that. But it's true. But the importance of this Virginia Tech game to gain a mental edge is paramount. It's huge. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 13 of importance to be able to get the mental edge here and come out with a win. Because if they can do that, it will be because they're disruptive on defense, and they've experienced and exercised a very dynamic run game, and they have good rushing totals to back that point up. So it means that they have found something they can do well. And that's going to be important as they move through the season, as they move through some of these games, because they have to prove that they can get through. It's a tough schedule. And they play in the SEC, so it's always a tough schedule. And they're Vanderbilt. So, but the confidence thing stems from last season. 2-10, awful, dreadful, right? There's not a whole lot of confidence there. You come out and lay an egg against Virginia Tech, and you're probably done because all the demons from last season are going to resurrect themselves inside of your building, and it's going to tear your team apart because it's now those demons are going to swirl through the fans too, and it's going to feel like First Bank Stadium is falling on top of you, right? That's what it's going to feel like if you go out there and lay an egg. So this is why this game's important, because you go out hard fought, down to the wire, even if you lose, and it's down to the wire, and you prove that you can belong out there with Virginia Tech, you may win those close games later on in the season because of, hey, we're there. We're 2 plays, 3 plays away from being, 3-0 coming, as you come into Missouri. It's just little things like that can really ignite a season for somebody. And it's usually that simple. So come out, get that edge against Virginia Tech. All right, then Kentucky and South Carolina, those benchmarks, now you have to prove something totally different. And I'll tell you what that is next. All right. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, and rightfully so, because they're America's #1 sports book. Well, we've got something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just think about that. I'm going to repeat that. You can bet, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Holy cow. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you're able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. Think about that for a second, right? I keep having to repeat it because I'm in disbelief myself. But all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sports book. Heck yeah, that's a great deal. All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up the show here. Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Coach Burton 30 at Coach Burton 36 at Locked On Vandy. If you want to follow the show, leave a comment right here. Leave some feedback. I'm getting some pretty good feedback here. But anyway, there's some pivotal games, man. Virginia Tech being the first one. That's the most pivotal right now. That's going to set the tone. Okay. That's going to set the tone, okay? But there's another game on the schedule that I think when you look at it for different reasons, it's going to be a key game here because, A, it's a gettable game if your cards have been played right at this point. If you go out and lay an egg against Virginia Tech, this game might be out the window, so I fully understand that. But it's the Kentucky game, man. And the Kentucky game, it lies right after the Alabama game, October 12th in Lexington, okay? And this game's important because, A, it's a road game, okay? It's a road game. And I think the last time you beat Kentucky, it was a road game. So you have a chance to go back into Lexington and get another win, all right? Because, honestly, at this point, you're probably, if you win against Virginia Tech, let's say best case scenario. Okay, I'll give you best case scenario. All right, worst case scenario, you're 2-3, I think, coming into this game. But best case scenario, 3-2 coming into this game. You're coming off back-to-back losses, unfortunately, in this case, and you have a bye week in between Missouri and Bama to kind of rest up. But then, coming off a Bama game, I think if it's best case scenario, I think you're coming in best case scenario. You've been competitive Missouri, lose. Competitive against Bama, lose, because these two teams are playoff teams. And you roll into Kentucky. Now, Kentucky's a team that I think is sitting there right? It's right before Ball State, so you could carry a 2-game win streak into the Texas game. Not saying it's going to make any difference, but it's always good to have that positive momentum because coming off Texas is Auburn and South Carolina, two more winnable games there. Kentucky, I just don't. They're always good, but I just don't know what they're going to have because at quarterback right now, as it stands. Now, in October, we could be talking about something totally different. They could be world beaters, and I could be, going, hey, you remember when back in August that I was talking about Kentucky was a winnable game? Well, they're good. No, I could be saying that. Okay, I fully understand that. But Kentucky is a winnable game here. They have question marks at quarterback. They have some question marks just offensively, new scheme, a lot of new pieces. They're always stout on defense. They're always stingy on defense. So it's, again, it's going to be tough. Points are going to be tough to come by. But I think this could be, if this game can be a low-scoring slugfest, to me, I think Vandy has the edge in the run game. And I know that's kind of weird to say because Vandy having the edge in anything in an SEC matchup can seem ridiculous. But in this case, I think with the quarterbacks that they have, the scheme that they have, and the point of the season that this is going to be, I think if you're sitting in best case scenario land, this game is winnable. Okay, which brings me to the next game, and I only have a few minutes to discuss this, but South Carolina. This game, and this game could set you up to make that run of the gauntlet of Auburn and South Carolina, because South Carolina, if it's best case scenario, and you've gotten 2 upsets already, or 3 upsets in this case, Virginia Tech, Kentucky, and Auburn, South Carolina could be standing between you and a bowl game. And South Carolina right now, as of right now, is standing in the middle of a bunch of turmoil. Because if you poll the people in Columbia, yeah, they'll probably tell you that they believe in Shane Beamer. Yeah, they'll probably say that they're going to be good. I just don't see it. I do not see it. I don't see it. I think this game is going to be extremely competitive. I think this game, if everything else goes as planned, best case scenario, I'm talking best case scenario. Okay. I can talk worst case scenario, but I don't think you want to hear me be negative. So best case scenario, beat Kentucky, beat Auburn, right? Some luck's going to have to be involved in Jordan there. I think you're just going to have Jerry Kill do some sort of native dance on the logo in Auburn to kind of put that New Mexico State luck on back in that stadium, because last time Jerry Kill was in that stadium, it was not good for Auburn. So the Vandy State Aggie Doors, I think they need to dress in their retro uniforms, the New Mexico State uniforms, to be able to win that game. But in all seriousness, I think South Carolina, best case scenario for Vandy, South Carolina comes into this game limping in, lame duck head coach, if not an interim coach, depending on how their season goes. And they could come away with this one, get bowl eligible heading into LSU and Tennessee. And with a little bit of confidence, I mean, who knows? I'm not saying they're going to beat LSU or Tennessee, because those are 2 really good teams. Both teams are playoff dark horses, which I think Tennessee is more of a playoff contender than LSU is. But LSU's just lost too much. But I still think they're good. They're really good. They recruit really well. So, their fall off is not the same as everybody else's fall off. So that being said, stranger things have happened. Okay. But back to South Carolina. They are right there. I think they're competitive with Vanderbilt. I think they've lost too much, and I don't think they've replaced it. They lost Spencer Rattler, and I'm just not sure about their quarterback at this moment. Okay. Now I will eat my crow with Bucky's barbecue sauce if by the time they get to this game, they're freaking rolling and they steamroll Vanderbilt. I fully understand that. I will eat my crow with Bucky's barbecue sauce. But I don't see it right now. I don't see it right now. This game is a pivotal game for Vandy. They have to go out there and execute. And I think if they can execute, they can pull this one out. Say that again. If I think South Carolina, against South Carolina, if they can execute disruptive defense, which South Carolina's offensive line, that might not be a tough task. Dynamic run game. Again, I don't like South Carolina up front right now. I don't. And somebody from South Carolina, if you're listening, please enlighten me why I should not feel this way. And I will take that into account. But these three games kind of really stand out to me because at the points at which they're played, you can really kind of, Kentucky can springboard you into making South Carolina a pivotal game, and Virginia Tech can get all of that started. And then you start 3-0 coming into Missouri. And that's a big, big deal. But we're going to let you go right there. Thank you for listening. Kurt Page is supposed to, if everything goes well, Kurt Page will join me for the next, for pretty much the rest of the week. And that'll be a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking to Kurt. He's one of my favorite people. Him and I can just go on and on and on and on and on about Vanderbilt football. So with that being said, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy. Check out College Football Live. And we'll check you back here tomorrow. Behave yourselves. Anchor down. Peace.